Welcome to the Citizens Forum. Today is July 12th, 2016, and today we have with us some representatives from an organization called Walk On Victoria, and they're here to tell us about what their organization is doing to make Victoria more walkable and a little safer for pedestrians, and they're going to just give us an idea of what they've been doing. So welcome to Citizens Forum today. We have Ariel Guetta.
Yeah, that's right.
And Sally Reed. And I'm just going to ask you, just to start out here, just tell us a little bit about Walk on Victoria and how you got started and things of that nature.
Well, I walk a lot everywhere. I walk to the grocery store and to work. And if you walk a lot to the places you need to go in Greater Victoria, you start to feel really like the city has been designed around the needs of drivers, not pedestrians. And you start to feel a bit slighted because over and over again, you start to feel like your life is less important than a driver's. Your safety, your comfort, your time, your convenience are all less important, which is actually the opposite of how cities are intended to be designed in this day and age, because pedestrians, we're the most sustainable and healthiest form of transportation, and we are also the most vulnerable, so we should be prioritized over other modes. So I started to get pretty frustrated that wasn't reflected in the way that Greater Victoria is designed. And it occurred to me that because walking is so ubiquitous and we really take it for granted, that it's overlooked in a lot of decisions, policy decisions and design decisions in the city. So I thought maybe if there was a group to represent us, just like the Cycling Coalition, then all of a sudden people would perhaps wake up and notice that pedestrians do have needs and interests, and that we don't want to be forgotten in those important decisions.
Yeah, I think if you ever flew over the planet and you looked down at the planet, you didn't know what's going on there, you'd think that the premier sort of species would be automobiles, because they make all these roads and then they have these little slaves that drive them and fix them, and, and you park them in these massive garages, and it seems a little bit upside down. But that's great. I think it's a really good idea. Now, what are some of the things you guys have done recently that you felt that it was an accomplishment?
Well, we started about almost 2 years ago now, so we're still a fairly new organization. Last year we really worked on kind of getting the word out about our organization, and one of the things we did to do that was we organized the first ever Walk On Week, and it was meant as a celebration of pedestrians and walking, and we held a launch event at Centennial Square. It was attended by Lisa Helps and Councillor Braithwaite from Oak Bay. And we had walks during that whole week. So that was a really big accomplishment for us. We've also participated for the last 2 years in the Jane's Walk movement, and that's a celebration of Jane Jacobs, and it encourages citizens to get out and explore their neighborhoods. So we've organized 4 walks for the Jane's Walks, and that happens in May every year.
Now, Jane Jacobs was... or is.
Was. So she kind of became an advocate for more walkable neighborhoods, I think sort of by accident. She lived in Greenwich Village in New York, and it was being threatened by being redeveloped and was going to lose a lot of its walkability, and she kind of started a grassroots movement to stop that, and I believe she then moved to Toronto, and the movement kind of started from there and has become a global initiative now.
Well, that's fantastic.
Yeah, and a lot of the other stuff we've done this year has focused on advocacy, so writing to different councils in the city about new developments, or we wrote to the City of Victoria about their financial plan and encouraged them to put more money towards crosswalks, and they did that. They're also planning to do an active transportation committee. One of the other initiatives we've been involved in recently is the redevelopment proposal for Douglas Street to bring in the transit bus lanes, and
We had heard from some community members that the plan wasn't very pedestrian friendly, so we met with them one-on-one, brought up some of those concerns, and our understanding is a lot of those concerns are going to be addressed in the new proposal. And
Yeah. See, it doesn't really make any sense if you're walking to the bus.
Exactly.
You gotta, why not make that a comfortable experience,
Yeah.
Often we'll see where I live, the bus doesn't even have a place to pull over. So, and then there's people getting on and off, and it's a bit tricky, and the drivers don't know, are we supposed to stay here, or are we supposed to pass the bus? The bus doesn't have any blinkers on it. And, it just becomes like, it's a little iffy. Is that person going to step off the bus and cross the road, which on occasion happens? And it really, drivers really don't know how it's going to go. Like I'm out near West Sandwich Road, and there's a lot of traffic there at times, and it's going pretty fast. Anyway, so you told us about the response like you had with the Mayor Helps and with the councillor in Oak
Councillor
Bay.
Braithwaite, yeah.
Maybe we should talk about, just give us some examples about what makes a city more walkable. What do you do to physically make that an easier thing?
There's a lot of different things, and it depends who you are, and it depends what neighborhood you live in. So we recently attended Car Free Day. We had a booth there, and we asked people what their ideas for improvements in their neighborhood would be. And it's very diverse. It ranged from, washrooms, better lighting, protected walkways in neighborhoods where there are no sidewalks, just having sidewalks.
Yeah.
And some people have somewhat divergent ideas. Some said less concrete, natural walkways. Some said better concrete surfaces so I can use my mobility device.
Yeah.
So not always necessarily the same ideas. So what we try to do as a group is try to find the things that are most likely to have consensus among such diverse pedestrians and advocate for those, and also to empower our members to advocate for themselves, for their own neighborhoods, because they know their neighborhoods best.
Yeah, like, there's a little bit of competition on the sidewalk at times. You have the scooters,
Yes, there can be, yeah.
skateboarders, some bicycles.
Yes.
Even when I ride my bike, once in a while I go up on the sidewalk because the street is just not safe.
Yeah, and on that note, we're supporters of having good transportation options for all sorts of mobility. So if you have better bike lanes, then that means they'll be off the sidewalks, which is better for pedestrians.
Yeah, exactly. But, it's funny because there's a lot of competing interests, let's say. After the automobile, there's still a lot of different ways people are getting around. And the skateboarders, well, they're a little bit dangerous because they're always scooting around, and you can't dodge them sometimes. They better know what they're doing. But anyway, can you talk a little bit about Vision Zero and what does that entail?
So Vision Zero is a policy that's been adopted by a lot of cities around the world, and it involves a long-term goal to eliminate traffic fatalities in whatever city has adopted it. It comes from Sweden originally, and the idea is that you can't put a price on a human life. So there should be no engineering decision where a certain mobility goal, where that's okay to be offset by human death. And another one of the key concepts is that since all fatalities are avoidable, none should be acceptable. There should be no justifying human fatality, whether it's drivers, pedestrians, or cyclists. And so far, Toronto has recently adopted it. Edmonton is another city in Canada that's adopted it, and it's created a bit of a buzz about pedestrian safety. There's quite a bit of chatter on social media about it, so it's kind of an exciting concept that gets people talking.
Yeah, I noticed, like downtown, like, I drive a service van and I'm out scooting around downtown, and say taking a right turn, the walk light is on. And you're trying to see if there's somebody going to walk across the street.
Well, one of the principles of Vision Zero is that it doesn't try to pretend like people will never make mistakes. It assumes that people will continue to be fallible, but that we can probably predict how and when they're going to make errors, and we can mitigate those so that they're not fatal errors.
Yeah, like often now you'll see somebody walking like this with an iPhone or whatever, doing whatever they're doing, they're not looking anywhere. They figure, okay, the lights walk, I'm good. I'm walking across the street looking at this thing. And I'm looking at them like, this is crazy.
But to be fair, I mean, if the light is for them to
That's
walk,
right.
they should be safe.
But here's the thing, is like when I want to make that right turn, I'm looking for pedestrians. Some person's wandering down the sidewalk and they glance up, oh, it's green, I'm going.
But on the other counter argument might be, you might not know that somebody's visually impaired walking down the street, and can you expect them to?
Yeah. I mean, I keep an eye out. I haven't run over anybody yet, but the thing is that there's just a lot of challenges there.
There is.
You know, and of course you're in a car, and what do you worry about? Other cars.
Yes.
They're going to smash into you. And it almost seems like a hierarchy. You're like a motorcycle, not as big, you know, and you move down the line. And it's just the way a driver thinks. It's just, it's kind of trying to survive. And I find in the city, it's just not always really apparent. You know, even when you're driving, what's a turn lane and all that. It can get fairly busy downtown at times. But anyway, what's coming up for Walk on Victoria as you see it's coming up in the future?
Well, we just, as Sally said, there was Car Free Day, and we got a lot of feedback from people. I think we had over 220 people visit our booth and sign up for our newsletter. And Sally's just written a blog post about some of the findings coming out of Car Free Day, so that's up on our website. And then in October this year, we're extending our Walk On Week to Walktober. And we're encouraging citizens to get out and walk. We're going to do a bit of a walkathon. We're receiving some support from the CRD to purchase an app called Stride Kick, and people can attach their Fitbits to it and log their walking during that month. And we're just looking to celebrate the pedestrian and bring more awareness to the pedestrian needs. Yeah.
You know, I was traveling a few years ago, and I was in Paris, and you know, Paris is pretty big, right? And you want to see everything, but you're walking everywhere. And I was looking at the map, and you know, sometimes the maps are way out of scale. Like it only looks that far, but it's like 10 kilometers. And I was trudging along, trying to see something, and finally I got tired, and I stopped and asked the taxi driver. I said, you know, this is where I want to go. He said, oh, it's just kind of around the corner. You're good. And I walked for another half an hour. So they're so used to walking there. And
they eat those rich foods and stay thin.
That's right. And they, you know, they look good.
Yeah. It's a magic medicine.
They are in good shape.
I think that's also why Sally always chooses to do her vacations in Europe. It's all about
really?
walking.
Yeah, it's good for the economy because tourists love it, and it's good for your figure.
Yeah.
Well, you also see things when you're walking. You know, you're actually in the environment.
It's a great way to see a new city.
You know, and you actually do stumble on things. It's wonderful.
Yes. It creates a vibrant city where you might know your neighbors better, or your local shopkeepers, or what's on sale at that local store.
Yeah. You become much more attached to your environment. Like you're in this box, a steel and glass box that moves around. You don't even know what the weather's like half the time. You don't care. You're just like going. So I think the walking is really has so many benefits, and Victoria's got the weather for it. We can pretty well walk for almost any day of the year.
Exactly.
And actually, when it's cooler, it's even better. You just walk a little faster. So anyway, thanks a lot for coming in. I think it's really quite exciting, you know, that somebody's actually doing this, and it's a needed thing. I think, you know, it's kind of like one of those things a lot of people give lip service to, but nothing really happens. So now you're going to be able to provide a consistent voice, and I think it's really fantastic.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
So that wraps up our first section of Citizens.